Welcome to or welcome back to We Are Wool People. My name is Ailsa and these are my unfinished objects. I am here today because I have a confession to make. Before I met you, there were other knits. So what I thought I'd do is I thought I would have a day of reckoning, and I've got them all out and we're going to go through them one by one so you can help me decide whether these knits need to be finished, frogged or fixed, and let's just start. So I'm not going to dwell on them too much. A lot of them are actually design ideas that I've been sort of fitting with over the years, and I don't think any of those are really going to come to fruition. So I'm just going to pick one at random and we'll go through them and see how we go. I hope you've got something to work on and I hope you're having a great day. So let's just start with these photos, shall we? Number one. Oh, it's heavy. Number one. In this box, there are many skeins of 2-ply silk yarn that I have dyed myself. Just before I started this channel, my great friend Mary got married on a farm in a little place in just west of Coffs Harbour called Missabotty. It was an absolutely beautiful wedding out on their property. Gorgeous country wedding. It was full of love. It was very relaxed and very casual. Anyway, Mary actually crocheted her own wedding dress, and 6 months prior to that she was here and we were talking about, you know, the engagement and the wedding and whatever, and she said to me that she was going to crochet her wedding dress and she wanted to use pure silk. And I offered to dye the yarn for her for the wedding dress because she was going to use knitting for olive pure silk. We talked about that yarn and I just sort of mentioned that perhaps that yarn might be a bit matte for what she was expecting. She hadn't seen that yarn at the time. Actually, neither had I, but I did have a suspicion that it was going to be quite a matte yarn. Anyway, one thing led to another and I ended up she ended up buying a load of this 2-ply pure silk yarn from a supplier that I had previously used when I had a dyeing business. But long story short, or short story long, which is more my style, the colour that she wanted was a very, very pale blue. And then later she decided to add some pale pink and some pale lilac into the dress. And I had, probably because of the pressure and the stress that I felt for making sure that it was absolutely perfect for my friend for her wedding dress, I ended up having many iterations of dye before we actually came up with the perfect colour. I had a lot of trouble getting it to be actually pale enough, particularly in the pink. So I've ended up with, she doesn't know this and I don't know if she's watching here, but I ended up actually ordering the same quantity of yarn again because I was so worried about not having enough yarn to sort of experiment on. So as it happens, Mary crocheted her wedding dress out of the yarn that I dyed, and I've probably got more of that yarn now left over in different colours, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But why is it in this whip basket? Well, it's in this whip basket because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 skeins of this yarn that are tangled and that I really don't want to throw away, but at some point I need to unwind them. And if anyone has ever gotten themselves into a right muddle with a skein of yarn and had to unwind it by hand, they'll know that this job could potentially take 4-5 hours per skein. And so I've had these yarns sitting in this little basket here, waiting for me to find the time and motivation to unravel them and skein them up into nice cakes for me to use at some point in the future. And I do have this one ball here that I've actually pre-skeined in with a double strand because I was going to make a tulip tank. But that is UFO number 1. It's not actually an unfinished object, it's an unfinished project that is going to continue to marinate in my yarn storage because I just can't bring myself to throw this beautiful silk away. I might mention, if anyone wants it, shoot me an email to natabulous@gmail.com and I will probably send it to you because I don't want to waste it, and by the same token I probably don't really want to unravel it myself either. So that is UFO number 1. Now the next project that I'm going to talk about is slightly related to the wedding dress project. Now around the same time that I was dyeing the yarn for Mary's wedding dress, we were talking a lot about which pattern she was going to make, and Portuguese crochet designer who was making these incredibly elegant wedding dresses, and actually both of us ended up buying a pattern from her website that came entirely in Portuguese but was not in a PDF format that you could actually run it through the translator. It was really quite strange. Generally speaking, she makes ready-to-wear crochet items more so than designing crochet patterns. Anyway, at the time, Mary wasn't sure which one she was going to make, and I'll put a picture up of the one she ended up going with, and it was absolutely gorgeous. But I, at the time, was toying with kind of trying to dupe some of these sort of patterns, and I came up with this bodice. So I actually still think it's quite nice. One side's bigger than the other, unfortunately. So this is my design idea that I actually did with sort of short rows. I was incorporating this into the neckband as I went along. And this particular stitch pattern arrangement, I feel like I made it up. And I remember making this whilst I was in a hotel room in Tokyo, when I spent a week in Tokyo with my daughter during not long after lockdown. This little basket is full of leftovers of that Nubu yarn that I've complained about so much on this channel, and I've got quite a lot of it here. But what I think I'm going to do with this project is I don't think I'm going to carry through with it, since Mary's literally coming up to her 3rd wedding anniversary. So this is going to go into the frog pile. Next one. This one's also going to get frogged. Before I made my Laura Penrose cushion, I was toying with the idea of making like a patchwork square cushion cover, similar, and I got this yarn from the same trip in Tokyo, actually. This I think I got from Amarisu, and it's a Derura Natura yarn called Candide. It's recycled merino and cotton. It's got quite a bouncy kind of elastic cottony feel. It's an unusual yarn, and I feel like it. The cotton in it is quite slubby, and so it's got, you know, it's got a rustic sort of look about it, but quite a soft handle. I feel like with washing and everything, it would come up really sort of buttery soft. Anyway, this is what I came up with when I was trying to do some sort of mitered squares, and they look terrible. The pickup is inconsistent, and they look awful. And starting this project actually made me realise that Laura Penrose cushion pattern, and probably her sweet shop blanket pattern as well, the convenience of having the pattern with the stitch counts technique and everything like that is so worth every penny. This looks dreadful, and I am going to frog it. But then that leaves me with a little dilemma, and it's a bit stressful really, because I loved this yarn when I bought it, but now I just don't know what to do with it. So if anyone's got any ideas of what to do with, I've got 2 balls of 3 colours. I've got this mint green, 2 balls of this shell sort of peachy pink, and 2 balls of this very, very pale cooler pink, and 2 also, although I thought it was 3, of this oatmeal colour. And I don't know what to do with those yarns. And they're really lovely yarns, but I need help. Help me. What am I going to do with those yarns when I frog these projects? Are they also in the frog pile? I know why I haven't made this video before. This is boring. Wake up. In this bag here, I have got all the circles made, ready to go to finish this blanket. This has been a very long-standing whip. Those of you who know me may know that I have a love-hate relationship with making blankets. I start a lot and I finish very few of them. Here is the first you're about to see today of blanket projects that I've begun that I haven't finished. I hit a stumbling block when it came to making the joining pieces, because the technique was a little fiddly, and I also feel like I got some of it wrong. Looking at it now, I don't think it matters that much. I should really bite the bullet and finish this, because it's really quite lovely, and it's really so almost there. This is made with a yarn that I bought from Skein Sisters. It's the Fibre Natura Papyrus. So this isn't an experimental project. This is, you know, a 70% finished object. I need to put this somewhere where I can see it, because whilst it's in a box tucked away somewhere and I never see it, I'm never going to go, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'll get that circle blanket. So this can go into the basket that sits next to my sofa, and hopefully from time to time over the next however long I will finish it. So that is a finish. This is a design concept that I had when I went to one of the Canberra wool days quite a few years ago. It is some jute yarn that I bought from this Lush Corner. It's Sasawashi, could be paper yarn actually, but it's a, you know, it's a one of those natural sort of ropey yarns. And on the way home on the train, I crocheted this half circle because I was trying to make a handbag that was duping one of the Cezanne handbags, which I think is probably still on sale. And I thought I did not a bad job of it, but I never went back and did the other. I started it, I never went back and completed the other portion of it. But what I think I might do with this is I might unravel this and make the one of the petite knit clutches, because I've got the yarn there ready to go. It's probably enough to make one of those petite knit clutches. So that's what I think I'll do this summer. I'm going to put that in the basket next to the sofa as well, and in my downtime or when I need just a quick project or something that's really portable, I'll frog that and turn that into a petite knits clutch. Don't know which one. She's got a couple of bags, hasn't she? Oh, this has got needles on it. Ooh. Oh, I know what this is. This is a surprise. Actually, I like this. I might keep working on this. This is a baby cardigan that I started for no particular baby, or for someone who was having a baby and I was hoping it was going to be a girl and might have turned out to be a boy. But I do have a friend whose daughter has just had a baby girl, and I could finish this quite quickly and give that to her as a gift. I think I will. This is also with that silk cotton blend yarn, the papyrus, in a really nice sort of warm cream colour, leaning slightly towards apricot. What's the colour? Has the colour got a name? I don't like it when the colours don't have names. Colour 229. And the needle that I've got it on is a really old Addy lace needle that, I don't know if you ever had the experience if you've ever had those brass Addy lace needles, but they smell. I don't know what it is about them. They give off like a kind of brassy metallic smell when you're knitting with them. I don't know if it's the heat from your hands or the way that the yarn interacts with it, but it's really quite unpleasant. And I remember that from way back when. I don't know what, but I've got a lot of knitting needles, so I don't think it would be any drama at all to swap that out for a Chagoo needle. I'd probably cast this on before I even owned my Chagoo interchangeable sets, so I think that would be quite an easy fix. This is going to go into my finish pile. Aha! This is another crochet project that I've never finished, that is related to another FO that's on the table, another UFO that's on the table there. This is a crochet project that I really started it for the technique more than anything. It's a mosaic technique that involves, doesn't it look fantastic? Using two contrasting variegated yarns, you make these amazing crochet motifs that have got these waves running through them, these raised lines running through them. And I really, really liked these colours and how this was coming out. And this yarn is called it's the marble yarn from, I can't remember. This is the same colour combination as the yoke of the Andrea Mowry jumper that is sitting here, that's definitely going to get frogged. But we'll get to that when I talk about yokes. I started this also back in the times when most of the things I started, I wanted to just learn the technique and see what that fuss was all about. And I've made a few of these motifs, and to make a blanket I'd have to make another like 20 of them. And whilst I did enjoy the process, I didn't enjoy the process enough to really want a blanket made in this technique. It was actually quite difficult to do, and I was very proud that I worked out how to do it. So that can go into the frog pile. What is in this little bag here? Oh, I think I know. When I first started this channel, I deliberately cast on some socks because I wanted there to be a variety of projects that I was knitting on the channel. And I had noticed that on other people's content, they were always knitting socks. I don't like knitting socks, and it was a bit of an effort for me to knit these socks. But these are the 3D socks that I have 2 finished socks in the bag. One of them's too small and one of them is too big. And so in the Goldilocks style, I cast on a 3rd sock to see if it was just right. However, I only got this far because I mentally in my mind had already made a pair of 3D socks and therefore didn't really not want to make a 3rd. However, I'm not going to frog these because I've only got enough yarn left to sort of make this additional sock, which hopefully will pair with at least one of these so that I can wear. And I'm going to continue, and I am going to finish these 3D socks. So this goes into, it's a long-term whip. It's not actually an unfinished object just yet, but it's going to go into my finish pile. There. Orange. Not my colour. Obviously not going to be for me. Also, before I started this channel, one of the girls at work had a daughter, still does, who went to a festival and wanted a crocheted outfit for a festival, which I made for her, and she wore it, and she was really, really gracious and sweet about it, and she said she really enjoyed it. Anyway, at the same time that I was making that outfit for her, I was also experimenting with this top for her that I felt she needed, even though she didn't know and didn't ask for it. But I never really got around to finishing it. But I've got this one ball of the yarn left, and it's only a top. And it's so close to being finished for her. I think the fashion's changed a little, young people's fashion's so ephemeral, but it's like one of those boho tops with waterfall kind of fluttery sleeve on it. But I do think I will finish it and give it to her, and then if she doesn't want to keep it, it'll be her problem. It'll be out of my house. That I'm going to finish. That can go into the finish pile. I'll put it in a bag. I'll put it in this bag. I don't remember what size hook. That's a bit of an issue. But right, this is an easy one. This is a heap of white cotton, and again I was experimenting with that stitch pattern with the puff stitch in it. I'm going to frog this, and with this yarn now I'm going to make another white t-shirt, and I think I might make a Tolster tee. There's probably enough there to make a little cropped one, and I've got other cotton in the same weight, and I could put a bit of a stripe in it. So I think I'm going to make a t-shirt with this. I can't wait to finish Dad's jumper. I'm going to start the sleeves tonight. It's the albatross around my neck. I've had to rip it back to the armholes and start it again. I'm actually got on gauge for that project. I just think that the actual positive ease in that petite knit Moby man, like ridiculously huge. It could potentially be a me problem. I am a loose knitter, as I go on and on and on about. I was really hoping to have that finished by the end of the Bichet Bouche Yarnacopia promotion, but I didn't actually realise that the sales for that are closed. Today's Sunday, they close at 10 p.m. tonight. I'm very disappointed in myself. It is completely my own fault because I haven't been at home at all in the last 3 weekends. I went to Bendigo last weekend, which I'm not going to make an episode about it because I did Bendigo wrong. I only decided to go the night before and stayed in a hotel in Melbourne. We got the train to Bendigo for the day, and I was so overwhelmed. And I really went because I wanted to see Erica from Yarnacopia because it was her birthday. And I did see her, and I was able to say happy birthday to her, so that's what I wanted. I saw Tash from Mosaic as well, and I wanted to catch up with her. Although it does seem ridiculous since she lives 40 kilometres that way, and I travelled 600 kilometres that way. But it was still good to catch up with her and talk to her briefly. I met Ali from Fibrebound, I met Ash from Smash Knits, and all the other Australian podcasters, A Knitter's Suitcase, and Mindful Melbourne Maker, who I must say I'm very grateful because I was standing talking the other Australian podcasters that were down there staying together, the other YouTube channel, were all staying together. And as I was chatting to them, it was Mindful Melbourne Maker. Took a photo because I didn't get my camera out the entire time. That's how much of a Bendigo fail I had. I don't know, I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. I did really enjoy going, but I was only there for the day. And when you get the train down from Melbourne, it's a 2-hour train journey either way. And I was also conscious that my husband was with me and I didn't drag him around the show for too long. And we wanted to get back to Melbourne and have a nice dinner. So I didn't get to the mill, and I would have, next year when I go with Donna and David, I might do even 2 days. I'll do the full day at the show looking at all the yarn, and then another sort of half day the next day looking at the animals, because I felt like I didn't really get a chance to look at anything in any depth. That's frogged. I've got some cotton yarn there that can go into stash for a t-shirt. Now, along the same lines of crochet design experiments, my niece asked me for either a black top or a black bikini, and I think I ended up making her the top that she wanted. But I've got this black mercerized cotton, and I've got a fair bit of it actually. It's quite heavy, and I think that the meterage, it's Natura Just, DMC Natura Just cotton. I think the meterage of it on it's probably quite high. Yeah, it's 155 meters per 50 gram ball, and I've got 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 of them. So it's a fair whack of meterage there. I could definitely make a top at least. And I started making this sort of little, again, another little sort of boho crochet top that I've not finished, and I probably won't finish it now. I also made a bikini top triangle, 2 bikini top triangles, 3 bikini top triangles. I think I didn't finish these because the proportions of them weren't right. And she's overseas at the moment, and her request was several summers ago, so I don't really think of finishing these. I'm going to frog this yarn as well, and again use that to make a summery top. What have we here in this box? Now, this is a very interesting project, but I don't think I'm ever going to finish it because it's a single sock. If it's taken me over 10 years to make a single sock, it's highly unlikely that I'm ever going to make the second sock, right? But again, this is a sock that I started because I really wanted to look at the process. I found the process absolutely fascinating, and the process, the technique here is called Bargello knitting, which is taken from the Bargello quilting world that I have knitted with a skein of very ordinary sock yarn, grey sock yarn, and then a skein of this merino sock yarn that I dyed myself, and in a colour that I probably called it after a parrot because it looks like a rainbow lorikeet. And down the leg of the pattern, you snake this Bargello kind of colour work, and I really enjoyed it. But I've actually done the heel, and I'm on my way down the leg of this sock, but I'm never going to finish it. This is going in the frog pile, and in fact I've got some DPNs on there that have obviously been out of action for many years. The other project in this same bag is much the same thing. It's another sock made with a self-striping sock yarn that I bought in Tokyo, and I actually used this project as my travel knitting while I was in Japan, the first time I went to Japan, which was 2019. But I feel differently about whether I'm going to finish this project because that sock looks a bit strange. Oh, I know what I did with this sock. I made a mistake. When I did the short row decreases for the heel, instead of doing them from the bottom of the foot, I've done them from the top of the foot. It's actually done a sort of a strange thing that's almost a design feature. Because down the front of the sock, can you see, this is what I've done. So where the heel, instead of doing the decreases that go from the instep up, I've done them from the top of the heel down, accidentally, probably while I was on a train or something. And it's led to a V decrease that comes down the front of the foot. If I put this sock on my foot, of what that actually does when you, so it actually puts a little V down the front of the foot. It's probably leading to a bit of a stress point. It's probably not ideal, but it's not like it doesn't work. It still works. And technically speaking, these socks are all right. I wouldn't call them amazing, but then my sock knitting skill I also wouldn't call amazing. I feel differently about these socks than I do about the ones that I'm not going to finish. I feel like I could definitely finish those. Oh, we're going down to some real memory lane here. All right. Oh, it's it's got the needles on it as well. Oh, and a really pretty, this is a pullover and it's a vintage pattern from Susan Crawford. Slightly concerned, this yarn box might, slightly concerned that that yarn just sort of broke away to nothing. I've never noticed that anything flying out of there. But anyway, let's have a look. I'll show you what it is. It's an amazing pattern and I absolutely love it. It's from A Stitch in Time by Susan Crawford. And it's a vintage pattern that's got my favourite lace design. It's really hard to see. Pop it up there so you can see it. It's my favourite of all the lace designs, and it's the frost flowers and leaves motif. And it's from A Stitch in Time, and it's a lady's lace pullover. One of the things that I didn't realise, it's really difficult to see in the pattern for this, but what happens when you're knitting it is that you knit it in the round, and when you come to the bust darts, there's this huge increase that happens really quickly under the bust dart, and it's the way that the pattern has had to have been increased in order to create the cups for the bust, but it leads to a really big sort of bunching up underneath the bust line, and it's quite difficult to see in the pattern, and it was something that I got a bit of a shock when I realised that that was part of the design. I've done it and I'm not sure how it's going to work. And I think that I stopped working on this, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because I think I had a problem with the stitch count, and I sort of got frustrated, and I kept going, and I thought, oh, I don't know if this is actually even going to work, because I feel like I'm not sure whether I've got the boobs in the right anatomical place around the tube of this jumper. And I don't think that I'm going to finish it, even though looking at it now all these years later makes me really love it. But what I do think is I think I'm going to repurpose this yarn and get this needle back into circulation. And I think I might make the Barbaro blouse out of this, because it's a beautiful coloured yarn. It's the Katia Air Luxe, which is made with extra fine merino and viscose. And it's a blown yarn. It's really old from stash, but it's a really gorgeous plum, silky, shiny colour. And I think that that would suit the Barbaro blouse, because it's a wintry kind of top, and this is a wintry kind of colour. And that's what I'm going to do with this guy. We're going to have no more vintage ladies blouse with the weird underbust increases, and we're going to go with the similar style Barbaro blouse by Knitting for Olive, made out of this yarn. So that, I'm happy to have made that decision, because that's been sitting there for a really long time. Pull the needle out now. This is so old that this is back in the days when what I used to do to make stitch markers was cut drinking straws up, plastic drinking straws, which are a thing of the past, and cut them up into little strips and use them as stitch markers, which was very cost effective and also very effective. I say I'm a loose knitter all the time, but these stitches are really tight on this, and the gauge on this broke. I just broke my needle. Oh, well, all right, so that led to a broken fixed circular. I better check the weight of it. You can see that now, look, isn't it? It's lovely, isn't it? Another crochet project that is 95% finished, although it's probably a little bit short. I think it was supposed to be a wrap. I bought this as a kit from Sackville and Lane, like possibly the first time I even went to the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show, which was, must have been 10 years ago. And I noticed when I was there last weekend that they're still selling kits like this, almost exactly the same. Sophie Degard used to make beautiful scarves like this, and these kits were very similar to, for you to make your own Sophie Degard style project. And I made this many years ago, and it's more or less finished, I think. All I have to do is weave the ends in. I'm going to put that into the finished pile. Things that I need to just do that little tiny last step before it's finished, and then I could give that as a gift to someone. Weave the ends in that, call it a day, and send that embroidery thread off to the charity shop. Oh, it's getting late. Let's talk about these yokes. These yokes are neither going to be finished, and probably I can't even be bothered frogging them. maybe what I should do is put them on hangers and spot them around the place for decoration. This is the beginning of a Birkin pullover made in Holst garn, the linen wool blend, or maybe the cotton wool blend, in cardamom, a navy, a plum and a pink. I started this project and really didn't like it. I really don't like that cardamom main colour. And at the time, I bought this yarn from a company that was called Pearlwise, and they went out of business, and I was never really able to get what I consider to be the right colours for this project. So I am not going to finish that. It can go into the frog pile, although I'm unlikely to even frog it. This one is the same. Again, it's the Birkin, which I've made in several colours of rowan felted tweed. But again, I got this far and I didn't think that the contrast was really enough, particularly in the leaves, because this is my favourite part of the motif. And I really didn't even think that you could sort of tell that the centre motif were flowers with either the yarn dominance that I've used or the colours. So I'm not going to finish this, and I really can't even be bothered frogging it. I don't know, it's giving me anxiety. These are the yokes, broke the camel's back. And this third yoke is from an Andrea Mowry pattern that I am also not going to finish, because I did enjoy the mosaic knitting of it, but I feel like I got to this stage where I joined from the underarms, or I joined in the round, and it was so huge that I just sort of abandoned it. And I did mention this once, I've shown this on the podcast once before, because I actually do really like the colours of it, and it's those same two yarns again, that Marmel yarn. And what I should do, and I think I probably will, is I should just sort of get that back to cake form, that yarn back to cake form, and reassess a mosaic style colour work project to use it for, because I think that if I did have that done in a garment that I'd really wear it. I love the colours. We're hoping anyway. Now this cardigan is a completed object which I have actually worn, and I've worn it to work. And this cardigan was sitting over the back of my chair in the office, and I went to the bathroom and I came back, and when I came back I noticed this. Don't ask me how that happened, but look. Spot, 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 great big line of stocking stitch, spot, spot, spot. Now I think that must have happened when I was actually fixing a mistake, and I was tinking back, and I've obviously not fixed it correctly. And so I will never wear this again because of that, and I could probably duplicate stitch over it. I am going to frog this back to the yarn because I don't feel comfortable wearing it, and I am also going to redo this. This is beautiful yarn. This is Yarn Floozy yarn, which is a merino cashmere nylon hand dye, and it was bought in a kit. Donna actually gave me this kit, which was very generous of her. It's merino silk cashmere, and it's merino silk cashmere. There's no nylon in it. It's a beautiful yarn, and it came as a kit for this project. So I'm going to frog this back to the yarn and use it again for another colour work project that requires 3 colours. There are plenty of those out there, and there's also plenty of yarn. I've actually got a full skein of the charcoal yarn left untouched. Oh my goodness. Not at the end. This is a crochet project going to get frogged. It was me trying to work out how those hexagonal cardigans worked, because I was fascinated with the process of that. I've done it, I've worked out how they work. It's very clever, but I don't want this project, so it's getting frogged. In the frog part, which will add to my rowan felted tweed stash, and that's a lovely yarn. It's one of my favourites. All right, this is a whip that might be finished, because this is the top that I wore to the Australian Yarn Show last year. It was going to be a dress. I never finished it as a dress, but I successfully wore it as a top, and I really love it as a top. But I've still got the yarn left over to make the dress. What I might do, and I think I will, I'll leave the top separate, and I'll actually make the skirt using the same stitch count that I've got so far at the waist, because it's perfectly fitted. I'll make the skirt with this leftover yarn, and that way it can be a 2-piece set for summer. So we're trying to speed this up now, and oh my goodness. So that is a finished object that can go in my finished object pile, and then this yarn can just go into stash because I'm going to use that for my summer knitting. Now let me have a drink. This is another one that I definitely am going to finish. This is my Bloom Your Heart Out shawl that I've talked about several times. I'm not going to talk about it again, but I am going to finish it. I just don't feel the need to finish it in a hurry. It's definitely going to be finished. This is my Manon jacket, and I am also, I've talked about this on the podcast before. I haven't got it out as a whip to talk about recently because I haven't made that much progress on it, but I am going to finish it. I'm very heavily inspired by Nora from also known as Nora Knits, because I started this a year ago and I haven't finished it, and she's just finished the the Manon cardigan for her sister in a charcoal grey, and it's really gorgeous. I love it, and I am going to finish this definitely. Once again, another blanket that I haven't finished. Now, embarrassingly, I had a week off work a couple of years ago to finish this because I wanted to put this blanket into the Easter show, and I, as a participant, like as a entry, and I've still never finished it, but I really love it. It's crocheted. So I think there's a link between me not finishing things when they're crocheted, because I don't have that many knitted things that are unfinished unless they went wrong. Whereas this isn't going wrong. I just never finished it because it's a bit repetitive, a crocheted blanket, isn't it? This is a crocheted blanket that I started because I wanted to experiment with the crochet cabling technique. And as you can see, you know, it does look like a cabled blanket with these bobbles in it. It's a really fun design, except that it takes a bit of time. It's, you know, the rows are quite long and it doesn't grow very fast, etc, etc, etc. But it's fun, but it does take a fair bit of mind power. It's a charted pattern. I got it in a bundle of patterns from, yeah, I do. I got it in a bundle of patterns that I bought from a designer on Etsy by Dada's Place. It's called the Irina blanket. And there's the chart. It's a fun crochet project. Again, this was a project that I picked up because I really wanted to challenge myself with the process. The yarn that I'm using for this is the beautiful Bendigo Woolen Mills 4-ply cotton in the colour Arctic. It's a gorgeous, clear, fun, clean, sort of sea foamy colour, a tropical sea foamy colour, and I really love it. It's going to be a lovely fresh blanket for spring, and I am going to finish that. That is not getting frogged. Here is my Milady's dress that's been on the back burner, and as we all know, I am definitely going to finish this. I haven't made hardly any progress on it because I've been all consumed by my dad's jumper, but that's my Milady's dress in Issia Trio 1, which is 30% linen, 50% linen, 30% cotton and 20% lyocell, and this is my Milady's dress, which I am going to finish. Yet another crocheted blanket that I really only started on a long road trip somewhere, that I started as a stash buster because I've got an enormous amount of Knit Picks palette behind there. And this is a free pattern from, I don't know, Love Crafts. It's a star blanket, and I have ceased doing this one because I ran out of the central colour, which is like an oatmeal, not a white, and I've started with a white in here. And I did think that was a bit of a deal breaker, that you could really tell, but a few years later, you're often, when you're working on a project, I think that you've often got some dissonance with how good you think it is because you've been looking at it. I find myself to be really critical. I often pick things up later and look at them and go, oh no, that actually does look a lot better than I thought it did. So I thought that this white that I've started striping in about here was a deal breaker, but I don't think it is. I think it's okay. One of the reasons why I've also stopped working on this is because there are instructions on the pattern for you to square it off once you've finished what you consider to be the size of the star that you need. But there's a lot of criticism on Ravelry that says that doesn't actually work. And I was trying to think of a mathematical way to make the triangles for this and square them off, and I couldn't work it out. I did quite a bit of research and looked at the maths of it, but I'm not I say it's not possible, but I don't think anything is impossible. But I couldn't work it out. What I might do is just actually have a go at the pattern instructions as they are and see if it does work. But I feel like many of these Ravelry users who are saying that math ain't mathing and it won't work, I tend to believe them. But I suppose there's no harm trying, is there? But this is a whip that I mostly used as a stash buster on a road trip. And I'm not going to frog it because I can't see the value in putting this yarn back in the stash. So I think what I'll do is I'll dig the pattern out and I'll just have a go at the instructions that already exist for it and see if that works. So I'm going to put this into a project bag and that will be one day finished pie. We've talked about this before. I'm not going to talk about it too much again. This is the beginning of one of Stephen West's mystery shawls from the year before last. I started it and I did like it. I got up to clue 2 and then I ran out of steam. But I also really like the colour combinations that I've done here. I really do love those colour combinations, and so I think I'm going to make a wrap by Sosu Knits from it at some point in the future. But in the meantime, I will frog that because it's really, I guess it's effectively a swatch now, isn't it? And I'll frog that and reuse the yarn when I do get to make that Sosu Knits blanket. It's called Travel Mode. It's my answer to the half and half wrap. This is my soft rolling skin merino from Great Southern Yarns in the colour Yukon Bean. And I'm very sad that I've not finished this project, and I don't know why I haven't spent the time on it. This is the Rib Wave by Joanna Ang, and I've restarted this a couple of times. I think that I've never really, it's never really come to the front of my projects. I've always had it as sort of a bit of a back burner project, and I really need to not do that because it's a beautiful pullover and I really would like to own it. I love the colour, the softness of this yarn. It's unbelievable. So I'm definitely going to finish my Rib Wave by Joanna Ang. We've talked about it on the podcast before. I started this, last year, and in the Great Southern Yarns soft rolling skin merino. I'm going to finish that one. And last, finally, the final one. Oh, we've talked about this too. This is this is going to be for my friend Jenny in Brisbane. This is the Tropez sweater by Suzanne Muller. It's a crochet project. I have done this much on one of the panels, which I think is the finish of the front. I need to do another back and then two rectangles for the arms. That won't take long. Definitely going to finish that for my friend for summer this year. And that is a wrap. So I've wanted to make that video for a really long time, and I'm glad that I've made it. I'm not sure how interesting it's going to be, so thank you so much for watching if you've hung around this long, and you could be asleep. Wake up! Okay, so once again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you. Leave me a comment and let me know what kind of whip situation you've got. Are you a monogamous knitter, or do you have a cupboard full of unfinished objects too? I've actually never gotten all of my whips out or my UFOs out and looked at them in one go before, so I actually found this process to be really helpful. And it certainly did crystallise one thing for me at least, is that I should never cast on or another crocheted blanket ever again as long as I live, because I'm never going to finish it. Anyway, so thanks again for hanging out. I hope you have a fantastic day. So I'm going to let you go back to your real lives. I'm going to go and knit some more on my dad's jumper and sort out something for dinner. And I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you soon. Sorry it's been such a long time since I did my last podcast. I literally haven't had a minute to myself. Okay, so take it easy.
I
Bye.
have a friend who always checks in, wondering how I've been. I have a friend who always shows up.